I guess we're live then.
Wow.
You know, shit, we live. Just like that. Like we weren't, and then we were.
And then we were. We kind of looking at ourselves.
What's up, Closer Nation? It's your boy Stewman here, and I'm still working on the technology side of things, so we're going to stream this from my page and then inside the group as well. I'm here with my friend Joey Yak. What's up, dog?
What's up, man?
So I met this guy at Billie Jean's event a couple months ago, and you know, Billie Jean, he's a salesman. I don't know if you know Billie Jean or not, but just newsflash, he's a salesman. And so he sold this guy to the audience. He's like, look, I got some killer entertainment. I met this guy. He's going to come out here and drop bombs and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, so this is going to be interesting. What kind of stuff's this guy going to do? And then Joey here shows up, and he comes out, and he has this like rap, but it's like entrepreneur rap, right? And it's like rap about the shit that we talk about as business owners and self-employed people and CEOs and sales folks. And like, this guy has the lingo down. I'm like, man, that's awesome. Like, what a niche, right? So as I was waiting to go on stage and speak, he and I sat kind of close to each other and kind of had a few exchanges and connected on social media. And when I got back to Texas, I was like, well, shit, man, I wonder what he's doing next week for my event, right? Billie Jean's going to be here. I'm going to get Joey to come out. And between Danny Galvez and Joey Yak here, I think they really, like, we had some amazing speakers, but I think they just kept the pace in between the speakers and everything else with Joey's songs and Danny's short shorts and, you know, growling chickens and all that shit, right? And it just made for an amazing event. And so he did such a good job for us that when he took off back to his home in St. Louis, I hit him up a couple days later and I said, hey man, I really want to help you out. I really want to get behind what you're doing. Just come out to my office for a day. That would be today. It was like, just come out to my office for a day. I'll pick you up from the airport. And we'll put together a game plan for you, because I think what you're doing could be huge, right? Because there's podcasters and influencers and people like Brad Lee and Grant Cardone and myself that make videos and need introductions and need songs that are different to be able to strike attention and things like that. So I wanted him to come out here. Well, when he gets here, he tells me that he's got, you know, two hustles where he makes these entrepreneur music melodies for podcast intros and videos and stuff like that. I know that Brad Lee's done one, Casey Adams has done one, Tim Grover, Billie Jean, Cole Hatter. So he's got some amazing influencers that he's done this stuff for, and he's truly good at what he does. Then he also tells me that he has this company called Rock Media, ROC. It stands for Recycled Old Content. And so for someone like me, that's really appealing, because I have a ton of old content sitting around. And if you're not somebody who's already making videos, you should be, right? Billie Jean will tell you that it's not optional anymore. It's mandatory to your success in the future. I think he said 78% of all search engine traffic leads to videos, or all internet traffic, not just search engine, internet traffic leads to videos, so it's a big deal. Well, the thing is, when you create content, I don't know if you've thought of this, you probably have, because this is your thing, but when you create content, it's like good for a minute. And then it gets old. It's like a hit song. A hit song's only on the Billboard 100 for a few weeks in most cases, sometimes a couple months if you're like a legend. And once it's over, like, ain't nobody's bumping your shit anymore, right? And then you, as a content creator, you're like, well, now what? Now I gotta go put more content out here. I gotta go out and I gotta do more music. I can create another song, another blog post, another video, another podcast, whatever it is that you do. And then what happens is that old content that was good wasn't seen by everybody. Right? Unless you've got 8 billion views on your video, not everybody's seen that shit. But what we do as artists is we think, well, I've already recorded that, they've already seen it, I gotta come up with something new. But the truth is, man, if you would go see the Rolling Stones today, you wouldn't want them to play their new album. You'd be like, man, play, you know, Paint It Black and Start Me Up. That's all people want to go hear. They're not cheering for the new album. That shit don't happen, right? They're singing Start Me Up, right? They want the same old stuff. If the Beatles were on tour today, nobody want to listen to their new music. You know, they'd want to listen to their old stuff. And so his Rock Media stands for Recycled Old Content. So what he's doing is taking these old videos that eventually wore out, died, fell off the Billboard 100 list, revamping them, making them look cooler, repurposing the content, changing the scenery in there, and taking it as if it's something that's brand new back into the marketplace. So that old content that was badass, that maybe the video you shot one way and you just rolled with it, he'll shoot the video another way, edit it and everything else. And then the best part is he does this stuff without you having to give him new content. You just give him your YouTube channel, he goes, pulls off, makes the new graphics and everything else that's needed to do. So if you're someone that's making videos, it's much needed, and his services are much needed in this industry, and they're extremely underpriced. I've been telling him today that he should charge more money for what he does. the main thing though, the reason why we're here today is I want you to kind of tell your story to our folks, like how you got into all of this, right? You got an interesting story, man.
Yeah, man. So like he said, he learned about me. He learned about me from doing actual custom theme music, right? Performing on the stage. I'm an edutainer, I like to say, but at 9 years old, I started creating music. I'm from St. Louis, and when I grew up, it wasn't hey dad, let's play video games. We would hop in his Oldsmobile and we would battle each other. At 9 years old, I was listening to Rakim, Boogie Down Production. I was a way different breed, and the white rapper back then was not normal. So 4th of July weekend, I met Ali from the St. Lunatics right when Nelly and them, started popping off, and my dad, being my dad, was like, yo, you guys are missing one thing, a white boy. And he was rapping, right? And they were like, yo, and I was beatboxing, on my chest, and Ali was like, yo, I can make you like the white Bow Wow. And like, I'm looking at him at 9 years old, like, whatever that means, whatever.
At 9, huh?
I was 9.
Damn.
And at 11, well, Ali seen me, and he was like, I want to make you a star, like a straight superstar. And they got so big, man, that we lost touch. But that lit the fire inside of me that was like, wow, I'm a star. I'm the it factor, somebody that's doing it. And I started recording myself at the age of 11.
Someone believed in you.
Someone believed in me. Someone planted that seed, and that motherfucker's been growing ever since, man. So I started recording, and then I started, years down the line, I won't, drag it on, but recorded myself in my house. I built a real big buzz in St. Louis, and, I started doing shows and all that, and then, and this is, you never know who's watching. 10 years later, the same person, Ali, called me and was like, yo, I've been seeing you in these streets for the whole 10 years, I want to sign you. I got a deal like that. I said I got a job I thought I had a job as a manager. I wasn't even ready to be the janitor, dude. I got that record deal, straight up. Got out of that deal, met Crazy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony, heard about me. He was like, if he can get to LA from St. Louis, I'll give him a shot. Completely murdered that one-on-one with him. One song, he was like, oh, let me hear another. And he was like, fuck this, let's make a song. 10 hours later, we have a song called Scraping the Sky. Ended up doing a year-long nationwide tour with them, and I was lost. I was real lost, like not at peace with myself, but I ain't gonna drag it too much, man. I had it, like I was, buses with my face on it and stuff, and I'm 26 and I have a daughter, and she's 6, and I was on tour, and I was guilt tripping myself because my father really wasn't around after, I said we met Ali, but he got addicted to drugs, and my whole life growing up, I was real lost, and I left it all. I'm from St. Louis, a little town called Hazelwood, and I always was like, I'm Hazelwood, not Hollywood, and I realized that I am Hazelwood, and I'm not Hollywood, So when I went back home, I gave it all up, and I come from a background, the only sales that I was dealing with was illegal sales, I'll be quite honest, and I
wouldn't know anything about that, sir.
That's why we kind of click, because we both don't know nothing about it. But I went home, man, I tried to do the labor gig, wasn't for me, I'm not about that life, and I got into sales, which now you guys are probably thinking like, okay, I fell in love with sales. I made the most money I've ever made in my entire life selling digital advertisement, and I started learning the language, and one day, man, in the job, I had some chargebacks. I know if you're in sales, you know something about chargebacks, and I walked into the room like, I'm out here fighting chargebacks. That commission that I made, they want it all back. Everybody starts laughing. Then the next day I come in, I'm like, where them leads at? Where them leads at? Me and my team, we need that. One call closed, I'm the pipeline king. I'm only in this cubicle for one thing, that's to get money. And everyone was like, yo, dude, I could ride to this, I could bump this, and one thing led to another, and I got introduced to Ryan and to like Brad Lee and Andy Frisella, and I'm listening, and I'm taking the knowledge in, and I'm receiving it, and I'm like, I'm one of them, I just don't got their money yet. And I started going to seminars and listening to more podcasts, and I burned my boat, and I said I'm going all in, and I made a theme song for Billie Jean. Billie Jean looked at me, he was like, yo, this shit is hot, I need you to come out. And ever since then, man, you just never know. You just gotta go. If I would have asked permission, hey, can I make a jingle for you? No.
It's happened a lot. I've never said yes.
Saying? Just do it. It's like take action and just do it. So it's a blessing that I'm even here today, man. I took action. Now I make custom theme music for entrepreneurs and podcasts. If you got a book, anything, I can literally put my melody to your message. But as he was saying with rock media, recycling old content, one thing that I seen with Brad Lee is I have so many songs that is not released. Just because it's old to me does not mean that it's old to someone that's trying to learn from me. So what I seen was a problem with all the entrepreneurs, that they have so much content and they're like stressing out, like, I don't know how to get creative, I don't know how to do it. So my solution, I said, hold up. I'm gonna sell convenience. I'm gonna show you, I'll create the content, I'll go find it. You got a podcast, you don't even have video, I'll create a video, put B-roll in it for you, and make creative, engaging content to increase your brand. So if you have more people seeing you, that just means you're going to increase your ROI if you got all your systems in place and all that. My job is to create that content. You got to have all that in place. But that's what I'm doing now, is creating engaging content for entrepreneurs so they can increase their brand awareness, which will increase their ROI. And I love doing it. It's absolutely passion of mine, and I'm here to do it for you guys.
You know, that reminds me, you know what a lot of us entrepreneurs and Tupac have in common? We've got a lot of unreleased shit, or shit that we released back in the day that we weren't who we were yet, so it's not popular.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like when Tupac passed away, there was like 10 more albums that came out. And forever, like, people were like, Tupac ain't dead. He's got all these new albums coming out. He's on an island somewhere. Right. He's hiding for Biggie, or he's hiding for Puffy. He's in Cuba. Yeah, exactly. And the truth is, man, he just had a lot of content that they did exactly what you're talking about. Once he passed away, his mom had the rights to all of his masters, and so she sold them, and that's how his mom, Amari, was able to, build a nice fortune for herself and everything else, man. It was because he had all these. Matter of fact, I remember there being a beef between his mom and Suge Knight. You know, it's like, Suge Knight, he's a scary motherfucker, but when you got a mom from the hood, she's the one you should be scared of, you know what I'm saying? And so, especially when your mom beat a federal case killing an officer like Tupac's mom did. Many of y'all don't know that. But she killed an officer in either DC or New York and beat the case and represented herself. Think about this, just side note, a black woman in the 60s and 70s that killed a federal officer that defended herself and was found not guilty. Tupac's mom's a fucking G.
Straight G.
Yeah. And she was a well-known Black Panther leader. So all these things going against her, she still beats it. But so she comes out and releases all this music, and Tupac continues to make money for his family years and years, still in today. Like Lil Peep right now, he's got a song that's on the Billboard Hot 100 on Spotify. And he's been dead for several months, but he had songs recorded ahead of time. And then here's what happens, like, you have this old content, and it's almost like what you were saying. Like, you have this old content, and what happens is, like, at the time, you were talking about who you were going to be. But then when you become that person 2 or 3 years later and you go back to that old content, it even makes more sense, because now you're the person you were talking about that you wanted to be in the past. At least that's what I know for me, because I'm always speaking into the future. Right now I'm speaking into the future 9 figures. Back in the past I was speaking into the future 7 figures, but I became that 7 and 8 figure person. So if you were to go back and take my old content and repurpose it, it'd still be relevant today. It'd actually be more relevant today because it's actually who I am today versus just the ideology I had back in the day.
Something so fantastic, I think, something so fantastic becomes so familiar because we are with ourselves every day. Like, you turn the camera on and you start talking and you're like, this shit's dumb. But really, you never know who really needs to hear that. And it just depends on what type of message that you have. We all have a story. It's just sometimes you need other people to help you tell it. So my melody, your message, if I'm creating the theme music, or if you need it consistently, which we all know that you have to have consistent content nowadays and remain relevant, we need it, man.
Yep.
We need it.
Did you know that Eminem is originally from Missouri?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I got a buddy named Haas Pratt that's born in the same town as him. So.
What, it's St. Joseph?
St. Joseph or something like that, yeah. St. Josephine or St. Joseph, whatever it is, yeah. And so, which is where our man Haas Pratt's from, who's another fellow closer friend of mine. And so, when you're creating this content for people, like, what do you look for to give it that new kick? Like, what do you do to take, like, the old stuff that was boring, where they're standing in front of a whiteboard and they're just talking whatever? Like, what are some things that you look at to make that new and exciting and breathe new life into it?
When I hear it, like, when we're talking and, telling the story, and like when I listen to people talk, I hear a melody in my mind. Like when you're sitting there talking about something deep, I hear the pianos. I hear, so I provide the music obviously as well, because music is the sound of a feeling. So me sitting here talking like right now, like, hey guys, I'm Joey Yak, but if I put some, you're gonna be like, oh shit, who's this dude? Like, it's such a difference, and I'm listening for nuggets, you know what I'm saying? Like, something that someone can walk away from and say, damn, in that 1 minute video, I just learned some shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's something, it's just not bullshit. It's something that people can walk away from learning more than before they press play on that video.
You freestyle rap, man? Do that sometime?
I can do a little something, but I'm a songwriter, man. I probably have 10 plus albums as well. Like, if I died, I told my fiance already, I just want release my shit.
Yeah.
Release it, you know. But
any artist is always worth more dead anyway. Sadly, it's true though.
I ain't trying to go out yet. So.
I hear you. You got a long life ahead of you. So here's the reason why I ask is there's two types of people that really perform in music or writing a book or whatever. There's folks like Lil Wayne who never writes anything down. He just gets out, freestyles it, and then memorizes it on the reverse, right? He's well known for that. Like after he released his second album, he said, I'm not going to write shit anymore. I'm just going to get out there and freestyle it out. And then if it becomes a hit, I'll memorize it from there, you know? Right. Then there's the other people that plan it out. I think it's the same thing for content creators. Like for me, my team will tell you I never plan anything out. I'm like, what's the subject? I get in front of it and I just freestyle in the videos. I freestyle on our blog posts and everything else, and I just get into it. Yeah, just like we're doing right now. But then there's people like John Carlton and Frank Kern who go into this huge planning process and make sure that all their words and everything are correct. So you're the latter, man. You like to be well prepared.
Yes and no. I stay prepared. You know what I'm saying? Like,
good answer.
I stay prepared. So it's like I never, you know, like Tim Grover. He seen me at Brad Lee's event and he was like, "Hey, I'm throwing you on stage," and I'm like, what you don't know is I've been preparing this for my whole life. So let's get it, you know. It's stay prepared for the opportunity that may never approach you rather than the opportunity come and you kind of nut up right there, you know.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like when I'm in the studio,
that's a big lesson. Like I stay prepared, right? Like people say luck and they say entrepreneurs are luck, but that's when preparation meets opportunity. And opportunity is always out there, man. It's everywhere. There's opportunity all around us. I'm in a building with Google and Hilton. There's opportunity. There's 15 mortgage companies in this building. There's opportunity everywhere. It's being prepared for if those dudes ask me, hey man, aren't you Stewman or the hardcore closer when I'm walking in the hallway? It's being prepared what to say. I sat on a plane next to Tim Grover. We just both happened to fly back in first class next to each other. I had to be prepared for that moment. I've been preparing forever, so I didn't say some stupid shit like, hey man, how's Michael Jordan doing? You know what I mean? Like I had to have meaningful conversation with somebody I respected. If he'd have said, hey man, we're about to detour and go to Washington and get on stage, I'd have been ready for that. Sure. Same thing. You know, a lot of people would say, well, I could go home, I put PowerPoint together, like fuck it, you just get me up there with a white piece of paper and I'm good. You know what I mean? Green marker, white piece of paper, and I'm ready.
I think a lot of people don't know what they need to be ready for, you know what I'm saying? So I sit there and I'm like, you know, I went on a nationwide tour with Bone, and you got to retrain your brain. And me personally, I've retrained my brain so much now. I packaged up my pain and I presented it as a product. I packaged up my past, I packaged up my passion, my poverty, my problem, fuck, any P's that you want to say, I packaged that shit up and presented it as a product. And everyone has a product like that if they really think of it that way. Every obstacle was created for an opportunity. Every trial, you know, you trial and error just to make a trial to a triumph. Like, if you can literally retrain your brain and lie to yourself for a few months, just lie. Just say, oh, that happened for a purpose. That happened for a reason.
Well, instead of lying, it's speaking it into
existence. Manifesting it, man. And that's when I told myself, because I, you know, when now, you know, I say I was go gadget ratchet. Now I overdose on the Holy Ghost. You know, I found my higher power, and some people don't, you know, rock with that, but it helped me. And when I left Hollywood, going back to Hazelwood, it was hard. You know, like I thought that's what I went for. And it's like, but now it's like, oh my gosh, I lost the battle to help others win the war that went through the same shit that I've done. And this is way deeper than business. It's anything that happens in life. So it's crazy, man. You just gotta stay ready. And if you don't know what you're staying ready for, it's real hard. That's when you gotta like leave the business alone and go back to the mindset and say, shit, who am I? Why do I want to? And we said this in the car today. I want people to know who I am, but I don't even know who I am.
Yep.
You know. And I can help you create your content to where you're like, oh shit, that's who I am. It's Coach Burt says, sometimes it's hard to see the picture when you're inside of the frame.
Yeah.
And
he reached out to me recently. He seemed like a nice guy.
He's cool people.
You know, one thing, there's two things I want to point out. First, the lesson here is, you know, Joey's got a good lesson here with getting on tour with Bone Thugs and Harmony and like being at the pinnacle of his career at an early age. It's almost like being Al Bundy and you throw 3 touchdowns in a high school football game for the championship, right? It's like you peak early, you know? And what a lot of people do is they live in the memory of. They say, well, you know, I used to do this, now I just happen to vacuum cars, or I used to do this and now I just happen to, you know, sell vacuums door to door, or whatever the fuck, right? But they relive in the old times, right? What you did was what successful entrepreneurs do is like, okay, so this thing happened, the force of average came in, it's already happened, put a chokehold on my life, but where's the pivot at? Okay, so I'm not going to go on tour anymore, but there's entrepreneurs who need me. There's a bigger voice for this, a higher calling, right? A lot of people will literally be, you know, either homeless or whatever, talking about the good old days when they used to do this. We know a lot of rappers that probably been on tour with Bone that ain't around no more, that, you know, are struggling or back trapping or whatever the case may be, and they didn't make that entrepreneurial pivot. And I think that's so important, man. I've had to pivot in my life. I was going to be the owner of a bank. Yeah, I was going to be, I wore a suit, I went to church every Sunday, the whole 9 yards, and the force of average came in, took that job from me, and instead of being a victim going, well, shit, I guess I'll just be a homeless loser for the rest of my life, I said, okay, so where's this pivot got to be made in my life that doesn't make that $1 million year that I had as a mortgage guy the pinnacle of my success, right? How do I go back to another peak? How do I hit the apex again? How do I stay there this time? And I really truly believe that you're on the right climb that's sustainable this time, you know? And a little, you know, not well-known fact is one time my buddy, who's probably watching this, name Adam Hamid, hired Bone to come into town, and we were at the Granada Theater, and this is back when Adam was getting into big trouble and shit. He was a club promoter, you know, drugs everywhere and all that good stuff. And Bone Thugs came in and was gonna put on this show, and we're in like this little VIP section. So, man, we're smoking so much weed. You're not supposed to smoke indoors in Dallas, let alone blunts and shit, man. And we got 50 of them fucking going. It's just a bunch of degenerate thugs up there, plus Bone Thugs, like just doing dumb shit, right? And I remember the manager coming up to us going, dude, guys, I would kick you out, but I'd really like to get high too. And we just sat down and smoked with us, and like, I thought he was gonna call the cops on us and everything. I'm like, oh shit, man, the concert ain't even started. We're fucked. And he's like, man, I should kick you guys out, but I'd really like to get high, man. He just sat down and started smoking with us. Like, this is going to be a good time tonight.
That was cool, man, but that's cool that dude did that shit. That's funny as hell.
I've been in some places where they weren't so accommodating to their patrons.
Me too.
Yeah, so back to this before we just wrap up, man. I wanted you guys, first of all, to meet Joey. I think he's a tremendous young entrepreneur. I'm all about promoting hustlers. I'm all about promoting people with massive amounts of talent. And I believe my man Joey here has got tons of it. This is our third time to hang out and spend some time together. So as I'm getting to know him better, if you're an influencer that watches my stuff, if you're someone who creates videos, podcasts, any of that stuff, then link up with Joey, man. Let him repurpose your old content. I mean, it's just sitting there. It's not doing anything. You might as well let somebody put some you know, magic on it, make it back happen again. And then, especially if you got old content that already made sales for you, especially if you got old content that already got attention and got engagement, people really like, but you just like, well, I can't just make that same thing over again. Let him remake it, remix it. We know that Hollywood's doing that right now. Ain't no new movies in Hollywood. Right. You know what I mean? They're remaking shit. Like, I saw that on TV, they're remaking Magnum P.I., Hawaii Five-0. That shit that was in the 80s, right? All the X-Men and Marvel comic stuff. I mean, all they're doing is they're out of ideas. So they're repurposing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're just repurposing their old content as well. And we know that the legends like Gary Vee and Grant Cardone and Tony Robbins and Ty Lopez, these dudes that are doing this on a big level, are constantly repurposing content. If you've ever seen a Gary Vee video meme where like words across the top and the subtitles, man, you can see some of those that are on his page right now that he shot 5 years ago, because you can tell he's heavier and he doesn't have his hair done right, stuff from back in the day. So
Grant Cardone too, like you see them speaking at events. Like if you're a speaker and you don't have someone, well, they're always filming the event, so it's like.
But if you don't have your own dude, you're really not doing that right.
Right, you know, and it's sitting there. You're like, dude, you're over there speaking. That is social media content. Like, say you speak for 30 minutes. Like, dude, that's 30 minutes. Like, I guarantee you got 10 to 15 minutes of gold sitting there. Like, I need that. Come on, bring that to me, and I can make it where you're not stressing out about. Because here's what happens. It goes to where you want to avoid social media, so you say that shit don't work or that shit doesn't matter, just because you don't want to take the time out to either create content or hire someone to create content or this and that. It's just inconvenience to you, so you sit there and rather say, shit, I know I need this, but I don't want to do it. Obviously, okay, outsource it. Then outsource it to someone that's actually creative and that actually has a passion to make sure that you have engaging content, rather than avoiding the conflict and running away from it. It's real. You know,
it's funny you say. I just did a Get Your Mind Right podcast about avoiding conflict. Most people go through their entire lives and they run from any kind of friction or any kind of conflict or any kind of adversity. But the truth is, this world only rewards you if you struggle.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people run from the struggle and then they wonder their entire life why they're not getting the rewards and the benefits they want. But the truth is, if you read the Bible, if you read the Quran, if you read the Torah, all those people that were blessed and highly favored from whatever God that they believed in went through adversity. Noah, the fucking world flooded. He had to build an ark. Moses, he had to kill somebody and was chased out of Egypt by the Pharaoh. Jesus was hung on a cross. You know what I mean? Like, all these people went through adversity to get the reward. The way this world works is you have to go through adversity in order to obtain the karma that's needed to get the reward. If you don't go through shit, A, you don't have an experience, and B, you're not tested. I mean, imagine if we were just thrown on this life into the Garden of Eden and everything was perfect. We never know what our true potential is. We need stress in our life. We need adversity in our life. We need an adversary in our life, something to push us and stretch our limits so that we stretch our identity and that we ultimately grow. Most people never get that reward because they're so scared to face that adversity, when really you have to look at adversity like this. Adversity is a gift, because when you embrace it, face it, and overcome it, you reap massive rewards. Think about me, for example. I've been through massive adversity, 3 divorces, 2 prison sentences, an abusive household. I've been dead. I died. I overdosed from cocaine. I've been shot at. I've been fucking running the streets with gangbangers. I've been, dude, in all these adverse situations, but every time I never gave up. When I died and they brought me back to life, I'm like, well, fuck, I got a second chance, right? Like, I was never like, put me back. You know, I always looked at it as like, all right, so I overcame death. Shit, you know, when I got out of prison, people said, what made, like, people ask me this all the time, Joey, they say, what made you brave enough to just go out and start your own business and build this shit up from scratch with no money? It's like, when I got out of prison, I was like, well, shit, anything that goes wrong out here, at least I'm free. You know what I mean? Like, I've already been through adversity and been in that situation. So when I got a troll online talking shit about me, or if I have a chargeback like you were saying, or some shit like, fuck, dude, at least I ain't in prison. That's fucking easy for me to face those confrontations, you know?
And dude, you nailed that. That's some real shit. I always say embrace the struggle. It creates the hustle. And our story is our biggest asset. And it's the shit that a lot of people don't want to talk about. It's probably that one thing they need to talk about that would probably take them to the next level. Because people, we're all human. We're humans of feelings and emotions, not humans of logic. And if you get out there and use that pain for your platform, or your past as a platform, like, I'm deep, you know what I'm saying? Like, when we're talking my melody, your message, and all that type of stuff, like, I want to, like, my ideal client for that calls me back crying. Like, who can say that their ideal client calls me back in tears because I'm telling, Cole Hatter was like,
he's such a good dude.
You had me damn near crying because you spoke my story in a way that I barely can tell it, like, in that sound, man. So
he's such a good dude.
Real good dude.
He is, man. He's good people.
Real good people.
You know, it's I guess the biggest takeaway from this little segment that we're talking about right here is, man, just embrace the adversity. You know, nobody has got where they're at in life doing things the easy way and playing it safe and running from confrontation. It doesn't work that way, man. It's when you face those adversities. And I believe too that when you go through adversities, you get experience, right? Experience that can be unshakable. When you survive cancer, when you survive a divorce, when you survive losing someone you love, when you survive losing your freedom, when you survive that stuff, man, it gives you an experience and a newfound appreciation for life. You know what I mean? Like, when I got out of prison, dude, I appreciated a Big Mac because it had been so damn long since I had any kind of decent, and I know I wouldn't eat a Big Mac today if you fucking paid me to eat it, but back then, I mean, just little things like that, man. I was like, dude, you know, you take that shit for granted, but once you come on the other side of that adversity, it's like a whole new, fresh perspective.
I think it's people. I think people are chasing it though. Chasing, like I said, Crazy Bone looked at me one day and said, "Hey man, you're chasing the devil." And then I said, "Man, how the game goes, how the fame goes, it's like a pot at the end of a rainbow. You can't keep looking and searching, but what you ain't know, you probably already got what you came for. And literally, what you came for, just to be at peace with yourself and be happy in the now. And the moment that I said, all right, I'm trusting God's will. I hated being at YP.com selling that bullshit and not trying to hate on them or nothing, but damn, them chargebacks were real. And I thought I was thorough at selling, and then they would charge back, whatever. But it's literally, it's happening for a reason. I'm here for a reason. I'm trusting where I'm at right now. And I didn't think I was gonna make theme music or recycled old content, so don't even overthink that. What I realized is one thing led to one thing that led to one thing that led to one thing that led to the thing, because I was happy in the now. I started this shit in my RV in my backyard. Still doing it in my RV. I call it RV revenue, backyard business, baby. What's up? You know what I'm saying? It's like 1 subliminal move plus 9 subliminal moves doesn't equal 10 subliminal moves. It equals that one big power move, and it's cool, man, because my instincts trust me now, like Tim Grover was saying, and it's dope.
That's huge. My instincts trust me now. That's pretty important.
I don't trust my instincts, they trust me.
That's pretty important, man. You know, I'm a big proponent of just keeping it real and sharing your story. Obviously, you've shared your story here and you've shared it through your music and your content and everything else. And you know, people hit me up all the time, like I'm sure they do you, and they say, you know, I just feel like if I told people this, they would judge me. Good. You know the reason why? I like the Kardashians. They're a great example of building a multi-billion-dollar empire. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we watch them, if they were astrophysicists that were from NASA, nobody would watch them because we'd be like, they're smart. That's why they got all their money. But we watch them, we're like, they're just like me. Yep. They're fucking idiots, just like I am. Yep. But yet somehow they're rich. Like, this gives me hope, you know? And your story, sharing your background, the shit that you've been through. I have yet to see one person catch backlash from this. I have clients all the time say, man, you know, I'm scared to talk about this, that, or the other. But you should talk about it because A, you're not going to be the only person that's had that experience. B, you're going to have an experience that you can extract a lesson and educate an audience from. And C, there's going to be more people. We all fuck up, right? There was one perfect person walked this planet and they hung his ass on a cross without even thinking twice about it, right? So we all fucked up. The problem is, here's what happens, Joey. If I meet you and you don't know my past and I don't know your past and you tell me the best version of Joey and I tell you the best version of Ryan, then we have a fake pact. Mm-hmm. I'll be fake to you, you be fake to me, and we'll just believe each other's bullshit. But then as we get to know each other better, we like, man, Joey ain't who he told me he is. And you're like, Stewman ain't who he told me he is. But then we've got this fake pact, so we just learn to tolerate it. Malcolm X says that what you don't hate, you'll eventually tolerate. And so what happens is we don't hate that other person for lying to us. We tolerate it. And we think, well, you know, he probably just didn't want to tell me a secret. He's just trying to keep it, whatever, right? We have these things, and then what happens is you piss the other person off, and then all of a sudden they got dirt on you. Hey man, if you fuck me over, don't pay me that money back from me paying you. I'm gonna tell everybody you've been to prison, right? Or I'm gonna tell everybody that you know, you got a girl pregnant, that this, that, whatever your story is. But the truth is, all of us have this dirt. And the second that you can step into a place of power and say, this is my story, I fucked up, I own that, I made music in an RV after I toured the world, I went to prison after I became a millionaire. When you step up and you tell that story, the world leans in and listens because they're like, oh shit, this guy's damaged goods and he's come out on the other end and he's not worried about his story and he's keeping it real here. It should inspire them as well. I've told thousands of clients, just fucking be you. If they run off, it wasn't meant to be in the first place, just be you. And none of them have ever hit me back up. And when I told everybody what happened, fuck, I'm out of business, right? What happens is I told everybody what happened, boom, they flock to me. Because all of a sudden that null and voids that fake agreement, it restarts a brand new real agreement, and the real agreement's what people actually respect you on anyway, because they're like, wow, this guy went through this, that, and the other, and overcame. I had a guy that was my general manager here for a couple of years. And man, the guy got caught with like 13 tons of cocaine, right? And he didn't run around trying to hide that story. When people ask, he's like, yeah, you know, I did 15 years in prison, now I work for rent, I got my shit together. Yeah. You know, now that guy has his own business. He's running our construction stuff for our flip homes.
More
you know?
Glory for the story.
Exactly, and he's just got a good story. It's like, I came from trapping to being in a cartel to going to prison for 15 years to running my own construction company, you know? And nobody, millionaires walk through here, rich people walk through here, people worth hundreds of millions of dollars in net worth hedge fund managers, all these people that I have that are friends that have come through this office, not one of them ever looked at him and went, you know what? And he looked like somebody that had been in that, like they do, you know what I mean? And nobody ever came and said, man, I don't trust your general manager. They're always like, dude, he's a good dude, because you just keep it real with everybody. You had nothing to hide.
That's real. That's real. That's hella real.
So Joey, how did they get a hold of you, man?
Joey Yak is all my social handles, YAK. Yak stands for you already know, and if you don't know by the end of this video, you probably never will. Joey Yak, you can find me everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, joeyyak.com is being built right now. Go holler at me for Rock Media Recycling old content, and like what we say today, come get the Rock Media and I can make you a rock star.
A rock star.
Baby. I put my melody to your message. Let's grow.
So hit Joey up, man. He's good people. Definitely makes awesome content. If you know an influencer, share this video with them. Say, dude, you got to meet this guy, Joey. And appreciate you watching, guys. We out of here.
Appreciate it.